State Republicans and Governor Tony Evers are in a rare moment of agreement after the Department of Public Instruction changed its testing standards. As CBS 58's Emilee Fannon and WisPolitics editor J.R. Ross discuss, Republicans could introduce a bill to switch back with the governor's support.
This week kicked off Inauguration Day, so this building was much more busy as we start a new year and next legislative session. And to start off, Republican lawmakers took the first step to putting another constitutional amendment on the April ballot. That comes after the Senate Republicans approved the measure that would ask voters whether to enshrine the state's voter ID laws in the state constitution. Now, of course, most people know that this is already law, but Republicans want to take a step further to ensure that it would make it harder to repeal the law in the future, either by Democrats or courts. So this is kind of another avenue that Republicans have really been prioritizing over the last several years to put constitutional amendments before voters. Meanwhile, we're going to get to it in a little bit. Governor Evers wants to have citizens be able to do this. But let's first start with this, JR.
The party line is that this is about protecting voter ID. Now, look, the backstory, too, is there's a Supreme Court race in April, the same ballot. There's been a theory that Republicans have pushed some of these amendments at times to maybe drive turnout. Remember the Supreme Court race in 2023, 12-point win for the liberal candidate. The more reason you have to turn out, maybe it helps them a little bit. So there's that. What I'm wondering, though, is when you do those kinds of things, usually it helps if a group spends money to promote it. What I've kind of been asking people is, look, you've got a Supreme Court race in the ballot April 1st, race for state superintendent, the top education official, and this. If you're a conservative donor and you put your money into a ballot referendum or into the Supreme Court race. So we'll see if that has an impact, but there's definitely a thought that possibly this could help the conservative cause come April 1st if it drives people out to vote to protect voter ID.
And it came the same week that just the day before on Monday, Governor Evers once again revived his effort that would create a pathway for citizens, not lawmakers, to create new laws or to alter them through a citizen-led referendum process. Now, he proposed something similar back in 2022, basically as a way to try to allow voters to repeal the state's criminal abortion ban. That was swiftly rejected by Republican lawmakers, and it appears that this is also on track to be rejected by top Republicans. But the only thing that's really different this time, JR, is that Evers is going to be putting this proposal in his state budget, which would force members on the Joint Finance to, hold votes on it and put them on the record for rejecting this, because Evers sees this as a way that, voters could approve marijuana legislation, abortion policy, and other things that he believes are, ranked high in polling when Wisconsinites are asked about it.
Yeah, for Republicans this week, you heard talk about, usurping their authority. Mob rule was a phrase you heard a little bit. Looking at California and the wildfires, and there's an insurance issue out there with propositions passed by voters that, impacted how insurance is issued, saying, look, we don't want to do this. We're going to keep this power for ourselves. I don't know from my conversations that this is really going to be a big political factor for people. Yes, the Finance Committee has to vote to take it out of the budget once Governor Evers sends this document to the legislature. But there are a couple of members who were targeted this past fall. I don't know you're going to see ads in the fall of 2026 saying so-and-so voted against referendum. That's not really drives people, right? But still, it is putting them on record about it. So it's also a talking point from the governor of, they have this authority, you should as well.
Right. And another thing that we want to bring up this week is education funding and the ongoing debate about the Department of Public Instruction's move last summer to change testing standards, which makes it nearly impossible to compare how students are performing now compared to years past. Now, that move was directed by Superintendent Dr. Jill Underly, and it was this week that Governor Evers kind of gave some of his sharpest criticism against the move, calling it a mistake. He had wished there was more input from stakeholders about this issue before this was enacted. Meanwhile, Republicans, I asked Assembly Speaker Robin Vos, he's eyeing this up as possibly to be the #1 bill that they introduced this session to change these test scores, to go back to the old way.
Yeah, and there's always politics involved in this building, right? And so with Underly, she's got 2 opponents on the spring ballot, or February primary first. Jeff Wright, a superintendent for local district, Brittany Kinzer, who's an education consultant. She has vulnerabilities. There's the MPS referendum issue, right? The department did not release information about MPS failing to file documents that were needed to get state aid. That could be an issue for her. This could be an issue for her. Underly has insisted over and over again she did not lower standards. She more aligned them with what's going on in Wisconsin. But still, there's an opportunity here if you're trying to beat Joe Underly to make this an issue come April. My question is, with the Supreme Court race being for control of the court ideologically, will that overshadow DPI? Is there really an avenue there for people to make noise about the DPI race and get people's attention?
All right, that'll do it for this week. Thanks so much for joining.